behold the tomato. Or as my neighbor lady said when I was a little kid, behold the tomato. Whatever you call it, these are the leading reason that people get up off of the couch in America and get out into the garden, because after you've tasted a store-bought tomato and then compared that to a homegrown tomato, you will become an avid gardener, because homegrown tomatoes taste so much sweeter, so much juicier, just so much better. Now, let's call the average tomato garden 8 feet long by about 2.5 feet wide. Okay, for our purposes here, that's what we want to deal with. 8 feet by 2.5. Here's what I want you to do. During the winter, before you plant your tomatoes next year, if you have a source of fresh manure, cow manure, horse manure, llama manure, rabbit manure, spread it about 6 inches deep across that entire bed and let it sit there and rot through the entire winter. Now it's spring, you're ready to start thinking about growing tomatoes. Go out into the garden and add on top of that 100 pounds of compost, a couple of good-sized bags of compost or from your own heap, and work that all well into the soil. And then we're going to add my special organic fertilizer recipe to it, and you will have tomatoes that'll win at the county fair, without a doubt, and you may become world famous for it. First of all, you want 1 pound of kelp meal, 1 pound of cottonseed meal. You can get these at good nurseries. And 1 pound of fish meal. The next item is bone meal. That's going to add all the flowers on your tomato plants. We'll add 2 pounds of bone meal, okay? 1 pound kelp meal, 1 pound of cottonseed meal, 1 pound of fish meal, and 2 pounds of bone meal. Work that across the entire vegetable bed. Now we're ready to plant. What you want to do is remember that tomatoes are heavy feeders and they're heavy drinkers as well. For some people, that's a problem. For tomatoes, it's an essential part of their life. So what you want to do is add a day to your schedule. 1 day a week when you're going to water tomatoes. Water them deeply, very deeply, because they've got deeper roots than any other vegetable in your garden. And then go away and don't come back to water them until next week. When you plant your tomatoes, dig a nice deep hole. And you're actually going to plant deeper than the soil level. Most plants that you get at a nursery and put into the ground, you never want to plant any deeper than the soil level of the pot they came in. But with tomatoes, go a couple of inches up the stem. New roots will come out and it'll give it a nice firm start. But before you put that tomato into the ground, and this, if you do nothing else, I want you to do this. This is very important. This is agricultural gypsum. If you don't put this in the soil, you're going to have a problem called blossom end rot. And it's a frustrating problem because your tomatoes trick you into believing that they're absolutely gorgeous right up until the end. You're heading out to the garden to pick that tomato for your salad or sandwich, and you look at the bottom of it and it's all brown and looks bruised and horrible. That's because the plant wasn't able to take up calcium. First of all, we want to give each plant a cup of calcium, a cup of agricultural gypsum right into the soil and plant on top of it. The next thing is that watering. It's very important that you water on 1 day a week very deeply and don't deviate as much as possible from that schedule. If the plant doesn't have enough water, it can't take up the calcium. If it doesn't have the calcium, it obviously can't take up the calcium. But if it's got both of those things, your tomatoes are going to be absolutely beautiful. The next most important thing is that watering. I already told you once a week, very deeply. But as you water, do your best not to splash any of that water onto the leaves. Tomatoes are prone toward fungal disorders, and you want to avoid that. The best way, keep those leaves nice and dry. But don't scrimp on the water. Give them lots and lots, but no more than once a week. If you give them water every day, oh, you'll get lots of leaves, just not many tomatoes.